Hey, y'all. Today's video, we're not going to be cooking, but we're going to be talking about it, y'all, because I have the pleasure of being with Greg and Shirley, and they started a company called Olive Oil Divine. Is that how you told me to say it, Greg? Divine. And I have to tell you, their olive oils and vinegars are so very good. But being a Southerner, when I think about using any kind of fat, I think of butter. And to me, in my head, I think people that live in the northern part of the U.S. would use more olive oil than butter, maybe. But that's just in my head. That's just what I think. Because I think about all the Italians, you know, that live in the northern part. But anyway, I wanted to do a little tutorial while I've got Greg and Shirley here to answer some questions that will help those of us that don't really know as much as I would like to know about using olive oils. So I have some questions because I'm in a stage where I could forget what I want to ask. But the first thing is, how did y'all get in this business?
Well, that was a God moment, Paula. Greg and I have talked about moving to the ocean, and we went to look at a couple businesses in Hilton Head.
Really?
And one of those was an olive oil store, and Greg and I went in and met with the owners, and it was a franchise, and we thought, well, we would be interested in that. So we met with the owners, and we did our research, and on the way home, we decided we were going to buy that business.
That's great. So you actually bought a franchise?
No, we did not. What
Okay.
happened was, when we made our offer, 2 hours before that offer expired, someone walked in and made a cash offer. So we got home and kind of disappointed. We lived in Tennessee because we always wanted to move by the water. But God closed those doors twice on us. And he gave Greg the idea, well, open up your own business. So we did open up Olive Oil Divine in Johnson City, Tennessee. We stayed in the mountains, and we've been growing for the last 10 years that we've been.
So y'all's business is 10 years old? Well, that's amazing. And you know what? I like to encourage anybody that's got a burning in their gut to do something can't, never could.
That's correct.
You know, and you have to take risk in life, but hopefully they're calculated risk and ones that you've got a good chance to succeed in. And obviously, y'all's passion wouldn't take no for an answer. So that's wonderful. I love those kind of stories. Where do either of y'all know where olive oil originated, where it actually came from?
Well, there's a lot of concepts out there. Olive oil has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and in fact,
Yes, it's mentioned in the Bible.
yeah, over 150 some times in the Bible, the word olive and olive oil is, and it was used primarily first for lamp oil,
Okay.
and lamp oil comes from.
So it would burn. You could
That's
get
a very
it.
clean burning oil. Oh yeah, that's why they used it so well. And the oil that is pressed from the olive, you've heard the term first cold press.
Yes.
Okay, that's obviously the first time they press it. That's where the best oil comes out, is from the first pressing.
Really?
That's what you consume, and that's what is in your bottles.
Would that be considered a lighter of the olive oils, or would that be an extra virgin?
No, there's a light olive oil. Really is just a sales gimmick. There is no such thing as a light olive oil.
Oh, really?
You have your first, your second, or your third pressings.
Okay.
So a light oil is probably, they're just using a very low flavored olive to press that from.
A cheap olive.
Well, who knows?
I bet.
Who knows? And that's a whole other topic about what you buy in the
I'll
store.
share this with you, Greg. Extra virgin olive oil is a little strong for my taste. So before we started carrying the products that y'all make, I bought a light olive oil. And it doesn't have any flavor or anything.
Paula, that's the misconception in today's market. There is no, an extra virgin olive oil that was heavy for your taste. You just had the wrong variety of olive. There is a very light tasting extra virgin olive oil called a mission olive, which is probably something that you would enjoy more. So it's not necessarily a light.
I have my own line of olive oil now, so
Yeah.
thank you. I don't need to find anybody else's.
And I promise you, this extra virgin, and it's the first cold press. But where I was going with that was the second press is a little bit deeper into the olive, and that's going to have a different flavor profile. It's going to be a little more bitter and not as pungent. Then the third press is where I was getting to was the lamp oil. That's where they get the lamp oil from, is the oil that's around the seed of the pit of the olive. That's called lampant oil. And you would want to eat that because it doesn't taste very good.
Yeah,
It doesn't smell good neither.
it does. Well, I've always heard of the first press, the second press. Excuse me. What do they press that with? What do they use to press those olives?
Well, in old days, it used to be an actual millstone. You've seen on TV shows, probably, or documentaries, a mule pulling that around a wheel.
Right, like our maple, like our cane syrup.
And sometimes the way they they'll put the olive in there, or they'll put it in sacks and
Beat it with a hammer.
press them into sacks, and then they'll compress those sacks and it squeezes oil out. But nowadays it's all done with actually through machines that use centrifugal force, and they spin the olives with a certain RPM and a certain speed, and it simulates the light enough pressure to get to the first press.
The way it
It's
used
a lot
to
faster.
back then. Yes, I bet. Now, I have also heard, as far as benefits, that olive oil, and I've heard two different things. I've heard that olive oil is better for our diet over butter, but then I've heard that they're almost the same. What do you think?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say butter is bad for you. Everybody needs some of that butter. That's a good staple. But for those who are averse to the butter, perhaps, or maybe not educated enough to understand how much butter is good for them, and they want to use something different, olive oil is a monosaturated fat, rather. It's the good fat that you want. And as you know, we can flavor olive oil with an enzyme out of a sweet potato and make it taste just like butter.
Wow.
And you can use that in your baking and cooking just like you would with butter, as you have found out.
I love the butter olive oil, y'all, that they have made, and I'm out of butter olive oil.
Not today.
Oh, yeah, you got a whole thing.
Good.
Should we leave you some, Paula?
Good. So you kind of explain the difference between olive oil and extra virgin, or the virgin kind, right? You kind of explain the difference about that. The extra virgin comes from the first press.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the second press is called virgin, and then the third press is called lampant.
Okay.
So when you see a light oil, like you were talking about, it's just it's extra virgin more than likely, hopefully, but it's probably from a olive that produces a light tasting flavored oil.
Closer to the seed.
No, it's just the variety of olive. That's what changes the flavor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Changes the flavor.
You have your soil and climate too, because that plays a factor in how your oils taste too.
Absolutely. And to me, that's, I think of so many God winks. And we were talking earlier about these bees, the honey, the different honeys, y'all. It depends on what plant they're sucking them and getting the nutrients from. And to me, that is amazing. So olives are basically the same way, right?
Depends on the climate, where they're
Yes,
grown, the country.
Yes.
You mentioned you're not sure about people in the South using olive oil, but right down in southern Georgia and northern Florida, there's a lot of olive groves in that area.
Really?
So it's actually they're relatively young, considering the age of the groves over in Italy and Greece and so forth. But they're there and they're progressing well, and we're actually following them quite closely with hopes of
Wonderful.
being able to use some of them.
In our house, the big house that we sold, I had a lot of olive trees, and they were loaded with olives. So I decided one day I was gonna make some fresh olives, black olives. I think I carried around a 5-gallon bucket for 3 or 4 weeks. And I said, oh, Bobby's gonna love this. Oh man, I jarred those things out. It's the nastiest
Don't
stuff
eat.
I've ever put in my mouth.
Don't pick an olive right off a tree and eat it.
Yes.
Well, I
They do
whined and dined those olives for I know a month, and it didn't help. Speaking of picking olives off the tree, what kind of shelf life does olive oil have?
Your olive oil has a shelf life of 2 years from the press date. And it can still go a little longer than that, but you're going to lose those health benefits. And you're going to either smell it or taste it. It's going to taste bad. But a good way to store your olive oil is in a cabinet away from
When it's
heat
dark.
and sunlight, right in a dark place. That's why a lot of we sell our olive oil in green bottles. It actually helps
darker
filter the
bottle.
light.
Yes, I love that. And, the old drugstores and pharmaceutical stores back in the day, they put it in those sapphire blue jars because it was so dark.
Yeah.
And apparently it helps, preserve them. I do want to tell y'all, these two folks can answer all of the questions you can may have, and you can go to oliveoildivine.com.
.com.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, that's real easy. oliveoildivine.com, and they are loaded with all kind of information. And if you're in Pigeon Forge or Nashville, Tennessee, or Myrtle Beach or Branson, Missouri, did I miss anybody?
Savannah.
Savannah, the mothership in Savannah. Y'all check out these wonderful, beautiful olive oils. And we have these two to thank for those delicious oils and vinegars.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As your jewel.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Would you tell my husband, please? Love and best dishes, y'all.